everyone, and welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV, where today it is time for our Black Mage level 52 quest. Starting off today with our minion roulette, we have the Gubu Sproutling. Hello there. Alright, it's time. Time to talk about the changes to Black Mage in patch 7.2. These are very, very controversial changes. If anyone starts shit in the comments, you will be blocked and banned from my channel immediately. Do not fucking doom post. I understand that people have issues with it. We're going to talk about the changes, we're going to talk about my feelings about the changes, and then we're going to move on. Alright, Black Mage had a lot of changes, so I'm just going to be sitting here reading through patch notes and explaining them for a little bit. Apologies. First off, most abilities had their cast times shortened. Blizzard is no longer a 2.5 second cast time, it is now a 2-second cast time. Fire is now a 2-second cast time. Thunder, let's see, Thunder... The effect of Thunderhead, which is the random buff you get, sorry, not random, the buff you get that allows you to cast Thunder, it no longer expires. So you can just hold on to Thunderhead as long as you need until it's time to cast Thunder again. Thunderhead, as you may be aware, if you've been playing Black Mage before this, Thunderhead would trigger whenever you switch elements, so either from fire to ice or from ice to fire. So whenever you switch elements is when you get Thunderhead and then are able to cast Thunder. Now Thunderhead does not expire. Next on the list, Thunder 2, same change. Thunderhead no longer expires, so as long as you have it up, you can just use it whenever. It will expire when you use it, but it doesn't have like a timer before it expires, so you're not under a time pressure to use Thunder. Next on the list, Mana Font. What were the changes to Mana Font? Interestingly, not actually seeing that on the patch notes list, but I think I have a suspicion why. So... I'm gonna go ahead and skip over Mana Font for now. It says it was updated, it's not saying what the changes were. I suspect I know what the changes were, and I'll explain it once we're done going over the individual actions. Fire 3. The potency has been increased from 280 to 290, so a small increase in damage. That is, let me actually check how much of an increase that is. About a 3.6% increase in damage. Though that is for when you are at max level. Let me check what the potency is right now. Fire 3 is currently 290. Okay, so yeah, no, Fire 3 just stays at potency through all of it. Fair enough. Next up, Blizzard 3 got updated. Potency increased from 280 to 290, so same buff as Fire 3. Umbral Soul is listed as having changes. Let me see. Halts the expiration of Umbral Ice has been removed. We'll get into that in a little bit. Freeze has been updated. Let's see. Freeze, what does your effect say on the patch notes? Does not list the changes on the patch notes, and I suspect I know why. So we're going to skip over that. Thunder 3. I'm guessing the changes to Thunder 3 are going to be effectively... Yeah, Thunderhead no longer expires, so that's same as the other Thunders. Flare got an update. Cast time has been reduced from 3 seconds to 2 seconds. So that is actually a rather major change. Previously, a Flare would take longer to cast than your GCD, so it would actually be a gain to use Swift Cast into Flare where appropriate. No longer need to do that. You may be noticing a trend with these changes. Cast time's down. Previously, the cast time for Black Mage spells was as long as a GCD or longer. Now, it is shorter than a GCD. Not that much shorter, 0.5 seconds shorter from a good many of these. But enough that you now have a little bit of room to move between each cast. Okay, that is all the abilities we have right now for Black Mage, so that is all the changes I will go over from the patch notes in terms of individual actions. However, there is one more major change that came with Black Mage. And that is, you may notice that on the simple gauge, I no longer have a timer. Black Mage used to have this little bit of a feature where when you had your Astral Fire or Umbral Ice buffs up, which is your element phases, when you're in Fire phase or Ice phase, when you had those phases, those buffs up, you would also have a timer where you need to cast more spells in order to keep those phases up, or they would expire. Now, the timer was pretty generous. It was around 18 seconds. But there was a timer, so there was at least a little bit of pressure on Black Mage to keep casting spells in order to keep those buffs up. And this conflicted with the very long cast times, meaning that if you wanted to cast a spell, you needed to really commit to the spell. And if you needed to move to dodge an attack, you would have to abandon your damage to dodge the incoming attack. So that tension of really long cast times, combined with needing to move to dodge attacks, combined with the pressure of the timer encouraging you to keep attacking, meant that Black Mage was a very high-risk, high-reward job. You needed to really commit to using your attacks, putting yourself in danger in the process. Or you could play it safe and dodge attacks and lose a bunch of DPS. High-skilled players would be able to do this very well. They'd be able to get out attacks and still be able to dodge out of the way of enemies. In fact, at higher levels, Black Mage actually gets quite a few mobility options. Eventually, you get spells like Triple Cast, which lets you cast 3 spells instantly with no cast time, which is really, really nice, and you could get multiple stacks of Triple Cast, so you could do multiple rounds of that in a row. Obviously, you have Swift Cast, which can be useful. So there were options to make it a little bit easier to dodge attacks during like heavy movement fights. But they have very, very much simplified, not necessarily Black Mage's how you actually play it in terms of its rotation or anything, but they have simplified it in a way that makes it a lot less punishing. Without the timer on Astral Fire and Umbral Ice, there's now a lot less pressure to keep casting spells if you want to keep those buffs. Granted, you should still be casting spells whenever possible because that's how you do damage. So, there's less psychological pressure, but it's actually not going to change the way you play Black Mage that much to remove the timer. All it really changes is the psychological effects of Black Mage, where it's not as stressful in high movement fights. You're not worried about, oh, my timer's gonna run out, I need to like get a spell out sooner. Now you don't need to worry about that, you just get out of the way and then return to casting your spells. Functionally, you're playing exactly the same. There's just a psychological difference. And then the other big thing is with the reduction in cast times, now you have a little bit extra room between almost all of your spells to let you actually dodge out of the way without needing to use your other movement options. So now it's a lot easier to get out of the way in the first place, so there's a lot less reason to worry about those long cast times. They made Black Mage a lot easier to play. In effect, they greatly reduced the skill floor of Black Mage. However, I do not think they reduced the skill ceiling of Black Mage. A lot of people are acting like they did, but I don't think they reduced the skill ceiling, because what they did is they made it easier to play. They didn't your rotation's not going to change all that much. You have an extra half second between every single spell to move. That lowers the skill floor, but that doesn't really affect the skill ceiling. You're still casting the same spells. And there's a reduction in psychological pressure from not having the timer anymore. That lowers the skill floor, but that doesn't affect the skill ceiling. It does affect the psychological part of it. It does make it feel less satisfying to really pull off a good move with Black Mage, and that I can understand complaints about. But it doesn't reduce the skill ceiling. You're still playing Black Mage the same way. It's just less stressful. And in general, when it comes to game design, I am always in favor of reducing skill floor without reducing the skill ceiling. If you can have a really high skill ceiling, but make the skill floor low enough that players can get into it and start trying it, that's really good. You want a very wide skill range to be available for whatever game you're making. You want it to be easy for players to get in, and then really high skill ceiling for players who are really good at the game to really master it. I don't think they reduced the skill ceiling. I think they actually did a pretty good job with trying to adjust Black Mage with the core issue being that it's less satisfying to pull off really impressive moves with Black Mage. It's less satisfying to play at the skill ceiling because there isn't the psychological pressure that you are overcoming. I can absolutely understand why people are upset about that, but I think a lot of the doom posting around Black Mage is completely overblown and people just looking for things to be mad about. And unfortunately, that has been the running trend in the community since Dawntrail released, is a lot of players who have been playing this game for a long time are getting a little bit burned out because they've been playing the same game for a long time, and now they are refusing to acknowledge that they are burned out and they're trying to find any excuse to be mad at the game. That does not account for everyone. There are other people who have very genuine complaints. Again, it's less satisfying to play at the skill ceiling for Black Mage now. I understand that. I respect that. I think that is something that the dev team should try and work on fixing. But I think lowering the skill floor so players are not intimidated away from trying it in the first place is a very good thing to do. I think that is a good change. I just think that they could have maybe done it a little bit better to not remove, like, the satisfaction from playing at the skill ceiling. I think probably just reducing those cast times might have been enough to make it a less stressful job for new players. I think that might have been enough. I think they didn't necessarily need to remove the timer. Alternatively, remove the timer but keep the cast times high. Either one of them, I feel like that might have been a worse option. I think just lowering the cast times and keeping the timer would have probably been the best option, and maybe that's what they'll end up doing as they keep working on it in the future. But I think they are trying to make the job better for everyone. And a lot of people who are getting really angry about this, they're perfectly valid in being upset that it's less satisfying to play at the skill ceiling. But they are wrong that the skill ceiling is lower, and they are forgetting that there are new players to the game who want to try Black Mage, but it is the most terrifying job, so they get scared away from what could be a very fun job for them. I just wish people would chill. Now, I did say that people who... Yeah, there's multiple groups of people who are upset. People with valid complaints about the less satisfaction. People who are just looking for excuses to be mad, which has been a recurring theme with a lot of things in Dawntrail. Dawntrail has more content at this point than any other expansion at the same point, and people are complaining about, Dawntrail has nothing to do. And it's like, y'all, I've been unemployed for the last 18 months. I finally have a job starting soon. But for the last 18 months, I've had nothing really to do but apply for jobs and play for this game. I have over 6,000, maybe 7,000 hours in this game. I still have so much to do in this game. How do y'all have the time to be so caught up that there's nothing to do? I think that's a you problem. Yeah, there's also a group of players who are very poorly disguising their misogyny. Every time there's an expansion with a female character in the lead, people get really mad at that expansion, even if it's like just as good as every other expansion. Every time there's a female lead in an expansion, it's the worst expansion. Everyone hates it. And it's like, y'all are not being subtle with your misogyny. It's like, sure, maybe the individual expansions could have issues here and there. Maybe you're right that they do have issues. But like, when you are praising the expansions that have male leads and hating on the expansions that have female leads, and it's a very consistent trend, y'all aren't being subtle. This is just misogyny. Come on, get over yourselves. This is the third time it's happened with Dawntrail. The third fucking time. I just went on a rant for 14 minutes about Black Mage. I apologize. I hope I've made my thoughts clear on this. I think a lot of the doom posting is just completely overblown. There are things to be upset about, I understand, but I do think this is not nearly as bad as people think it is. I think people need to chill the fuck out, and just get over yourselves, please. Alright, now that I have pissed everyone off, and surely the comment section is going to be an absolute delight to read, let's go ahead and take care of the Black Mage job quest. Thank goodness I have timestamps so you can just skip all this if you want. Alright. Lalai, hello! 15 minutes later, I'm sorry for standing in front of you for 15 minutes. Let's get started. Lalai has acquired new information regarding the missing Book of Thal. Ah, Satori, you come at a most opportune time. There is a task I would have you perform. In my search for the Book of Thal, I have drawn upon all my resources in the trading spheres. The tome has not appeared on the black market, nor has it found its way to a private collection. This tells us that the thief has made no effort to sell it. If we consider then the fact that he was able to open a magically sealed chest, we may safely assume that the suspect is a mage and his interest in the tome is personal. However, this individual came to know of the existence of black magic. It seems plain he seeks to unlock the tome's secrets. To what end, it is too early to say, but at the very least we now have a lead. There are scarce few who share our knowledge of black magic, your 3 beastmen friends who were present when Master Kukuruka rendered up his last breath. It may be that the thief's identity is known to one of them. Begin your inquiries at Burgundy Falls, Satora. See if Kazak Cha has had any suspicious visitors of late. Alright, sounds fair enough. There's not exactly a lot of knowledge about black magic going around. So, those would be the best people to ask. People who we know about black magic. Alright then, let's get moving out to Burgundy Falls. Hello there, Kazak-cha. How is it going? Have you had any suspicious visitors of late? Satora, I am glad to see you again, my friend. What brings you here this day? I'm looking for someone who stole an ancient black magic tome. I was wondering if you had any visitors. That such tomes should exist, but to answer your question, I have been visited by a suspicious man, and very recently. Though visited fails to capture the nature of our meeting. Not a bell ago, a robed man appeared before me. Join me, he said, and together we shall master the dark arts. A dubious offer, which I naturally declined. But no sooner had the words left my mouth than he unleashed a barrage of spells at me. Though I could scarce believe it, I would swear that the spells he wielded were black magic. I warded off his attacks and countered with spells of my own, and he swiftly turned tail. All this happened but a short while ago. He cannot have gone far since then. If you mean to confront him, you would do well to exercise caution. Though he alone approached me, I felt the presence of others. Great. Trying to actively threaten our friends into joining them, then. Hello there, have you seen anyone suspicious going by? Perhaps a mage of sorts? What do you want? Wait, this aura. Yes, there is no mistake. You are a black mage and you will lead me to him. Now speak, or I will make you wish you had. But aren't you a black mage? Me, a black mage? How utterly ridiculous. Perhaps you're not one of them after all. I fear there has been a misunderstanding. I am not the villain who attacked the Amalja, nor does it appear you are in league with him. I see you are disinclined to believe me. Well, the truth of my words is easily verified. Let us go to Burgundy Falls and see your friend together. I wish to have words with him at any rate. Okay, so you two are tracking down whoever we're after, it sounds like? Potentially an ally then? There is a misunderstanding that I wish to clear up. We meet for the first time, and that fact alone should suffice to settle the matter. But for the sake of formality, pray answer this question. Am I the man who attacked you? No, you are not. You bear scant resemblance to the villain. Now that the matter is behind us, allow me to introduce myself. I'm here, Jaya Nelha of the Conjurers Guild in Gridania. Honestly surprised that a mooncat would be allowed into the Conjurers Guild. I say, even though Satora is technically in the Conjurers Guild for the purposes of the playthrough. Still, the Seedseer Council has sent me to find a man who wields black magic, the forbidden art of destruction. His trail led me to this area, where I chanced to witness him attacking your Amalja friend. I lost the villain beat a hasty retreat, and I lost sight of him in the confusion. You approached me shortly thereafter. So this wasn't just like within the last hour, this was just minutes ago that this all happened. You may not be connected to the man I seek, but you are a practitioner of the dark arts nonetheless. The aura is telltale, so don't even think to deny it. You must also answer to justice. Excuse you? The Books of Naldthal. Matron preserve, I was not aware that such terrible tomes existed. This woman, Lalai, she may well know something useful. I will pay her a visit, and I expect you to be there as well. I take it you intend to continue searching for the mystery black mage. Though I doubt that his skill is a match for yours, he has proven himself unpredictable and dangerous both. Be sure to keep your wits about you. I shall go to Daza and Dozo Melak and apprise him of the situation. For now, you would do well to return to Lalai. Thank you very much, Kazak-cha. You all stay safe. We will figure this out. And hopefully once everyone's regrouped, we'll be able to count on your assistance as well. Hello there, Lalai. I apologize, but this man seems to detest black mages. He said I must answer to justice. By the gods, it's as if she has no ears to listen. What's going on, Lalai? What has he said? Thank Thal you have returned. This man, whom I have never seen before, charged up here and started berating me for meddling with forbidden arts. He had the nerve to call me a fool, thrice. Aye, and I will say it again, you are a fool, but the worst fool of all was your master Kukuruka. It is because of him that these miscreants are running rampant. Let me start again. I know about the Book of Thal, and I know the people who took it. They call themselves the Defiant, and their sole objective is to master the art of destruction. The man I have been tasked with finding is their leader. Waldev is his name, and he used to be a conjurer of Stillglade fame. The man harbored a deep hunger for power, the power over those he had sworn to protect. In order to satisfy this craving, he began dabbling in the dark arts. Before long, however, his doings were made known to the guild, who summarily banished him. But as he left, he declared that one day he will show the world the true power of black magic. For years we had heard naught of Waldev. Some of us dared to hope that his words were but wind. Alas, he has returned, and this could only mean one thing. He is ready to make good on his promise. Gods preserve! Are you certain of this? That it is Waldev who has taken the tome? I'm afraid so. It is no coincidence that the tome went missing at the same juncture that the man reappeared. Even now, he continues instructing his minions in black magic, and every day that passes sees the cult grow into a bigger threat. If we are to move against them, we must do so now. I assume that we are dealing with a lone mage, but if it is an entire cult, as you say, I will need to reconsider my plans. Satoru, while you went about your investigation, I succeeded in deciphering a new spell in the Book of Nald. It should prove useful in the battles to come. I shall teach it to you forthwith. What? You mean to fight destruction with more destruction? This can only end in tragedy, I tell you. Listen to me, hearer. Waldev and his cult may be a menace to the realm, but Satoru is nothing like them. Master Kukuruka himself entrusted her with his legacy. She will not misuse her power and cause carnage. On that you have my word. I cannot believe what I am hearing. Were the situation not so dire, I would bring you to justice without a moment's hesitation. Fortunately for you, a greater threat looms over us all, and we must cooperate if disaster is to be averted. Your connections have proven useful before, and they may do so again. If you learn aught through them, I will thank you to send me word, but know that I'll not tolerate any interference in my investigation. I think I hate this man. Gods, what an irksome, ignorant, insufferable idiot! To think that we must cooperate with him. Heed not the mutterings of that stuck-up lout. We shall prepare for the gathering storm in our own way. Now, where were we? Ah yes, the new spell. Ley Lines it is called, and it will be a potent addition to your arsenal. While you go about mastering it, I will make further inquiries on the situation at hand. If there are any developments, you'll be the first to know. Ley Lines is such a good spell. It is actually one of the defining spells of Black Mage. Alright then, let's go check out how this one works. Let's get over to Falcon's Nest and go check out the striking dummies. I think I'll put it right there. Alright, so Ley Lines. What does Ley Lines do? Where are you? Ley Lines, let's see. It has a cooldown of 2 minutes, so it is a big one. A very big spell. Connects naturally occurring ley lines to create a circle of power which, while standing within it, reduces spell cast time and recast time and auto attack delay by 15%. Lasts for 20 seconds, maximum charge 2. So we can cast up to 2 ley lines every 120... Sorry, charge time is 120 seconds. So we can cast 1 every 120 seconds, but we start with 2 available. So, a 15% reduction in cast time. If we were still on the 2.5 second spell cast time, would make our spells make our spells take about 2.125 seconds to cast. Okay, that's pretty good. That is definitely much faster than 2.5 seconds. That gives us almost half a second to move. With the 2-second spell cast that we have currently with Black Mage, with new Black Mage, while we are standing in ley lines, they will take about 1.7 seconds to cast. So, definitely a very useful spell. We want to have that up at basically all times. Let's open with a Fire 3, cast ley lines, and we're just going to start casting away. Yeah, our cast time is much shorter now. So we have a little bit of time to move within our ley lines between each cast, giving us a bit of flexibility in how we want to go about our fights. We can drop another ley lines, keep firing, and since it's 2 charges, we have quite a bit of flexibility in how we want to use it. Though it is generally recommended that you save at least 1 ley lines for each 2-minute burst window, which also pairs with our mana font, which is nice. Just because stacking up as much damage as you can within those 2-minute burst windows with the rest of your party is going to have a pretty significant effect on battles. But yeah, ley line. My throat is betraying me. Ley lines, very, very good ability. Does add a bit of pressure to stay in relatively one space and not move too much. It gives you a little bit of room to dodge like small attacks, but for like larger AoEs that cover the ground, you're going to need to move out of your ley lines. And then move back in once the attack is done so that you can continue casting with high speed and high power. It is a very, very nice ability. I like it a lot. Every Black Mage loves this spell. Ley lines is so useful. And it has led to so many memes in the past of people being forced out of their ley lines and the resounding choir of "my ley lines" whenever a Black Mage gets screwed. It's a good spell. It adds a lot of pressure to stay in one place because it is so powerful with improving your spell speed. But at the same time, yeah, it's pros and cons. It adds a lot to Black Mage's risk-reward structure. Alright, I probably should have switched over to warmer clothes when we came over here to train, but oh well, not a big deal. With that, I believe next time on Final Fantasy XIV, it is time for our level 52 Summoner quest. I will see everyone next time for that.